UFC 313 just wrapped up, and Magomed Ankalaev is now the champion. And a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are saying that this was a robbery, that Pereira should have won. You know, some people are saying you have to beat the champ to be the champ, and people really do not like this fight. People are really angry at Magomed Ankalaev. And overall, what do I think of this fight? Was this a robbery? And just a few of my thoughts on the overall card. So, in my opinion, there's about two sides of people, right? Some people are saying that this was a robbery. Pereira should have won the fight. Some people who picked Magomed are acting like this was like a dominant performance. I just don't agree with either. I don't think that this was a robbery. I think you could give the fight to Ankalaev. I'll go into who I thought won. And also, this was not a dominant performance. It kind of reminds me of the Sean O'Malley-Merab fight, where a lot of people are saying that Merab dominated Merab 50-45 when it was like a competitive 48-47 decision. Except it was crazy to say then that Sean O'Malley won the fight because people don't like Sean O'Malley and people like Alex Pereira. And I think that both fights were just about as close, in my opinion. But still, how did I score the fight and my thoughts on it, if they should do a rematch, whatever. So in my opinion, how the fight went, I thought Pereira won the first round. I think most people would agree with that. He just kept on landing the leg kicks. He was doing a pretty good job of landing them, as I expected. It's just they weren't that damaging for the most part. I think the one that he landed at the end of the first kind of hurt Magomed, but they weren't as damaging as I thought they would be. And then the second round, I know people say, oh, well, because Magomed rocked Alex at the end of the second, that after that, Pereira, his confidence just went down. He was scared to let his hands go. I disagree with that, because if you watch the second round, even before he got rocked, Magomed was clearly outstriking him, and I don't think that he attempted a takedown in the second. He may have. If he did, it got stuffed relatively easy. And again, I don't think that it was Pereira's confidence just went down because he was getting outstruck in that round. Now, it pretty much comes down to the third round. I know on the strike numbers, I think Pereira was ahead. Honestly, this is the round where a lot of people are saying Pereira should have won. I think you could give it to him. I just feel like the numbers are kind of off because I rewatched the fight initially. I've watched it twice now. I thought Ankalaev landed the better strikes. I thought that his kicks were actually a little bit better than Pereira's. And I know people are going to get mad at that, but I would give the round to Ankalaev. I thought it was really close. I thought you could give it to Pereira, but it wasn't a robbery. You could absolutely give it to either guy. And then the fourth round, very boring. This is when the fight started to get really boring and when people started booing. Rounds 4 and 5 were just awful to watch, to be honest. And then the first 3 rounds were like okay. The first round was like an okay round. It wasn't great. Second round was pretty entertaining. So was the third round. But it was a pretty boring fight overall. Wasn't awful. But round 4, obviously Ankalaev hugging him against the cage. Round 5, at first I said, okay, this is obviously Pereira's round. You can't even argue it. You could legit score this 49-46 to Ankalaev because if you rewatch the 5th round, I remembered it the first time as Ankalaev got rocked by a head kick. Nothing really happened before that, and then he grabbed him and held him against the cage. You have to give it to Pereira. But if you rewatch the 5th round, I'm telling you, Ankalaev was winning the striking exchanges before the head kick. He really was. And the head kick, it didn't really wobble him that bad. It kind of stunned him. But it wasn't like how Ankalaev had Pereira in the second. You could legit give the 5th round to Ankalaev because he overall was kind of outstriking him in the 5th. Again, a very close round. You could give it to either guy, in my opinion. I still would maybe edge the 5th round to Pereira because of damage, and he did land the biggest shot of the 5th round, but still, that also was a really close round. This was a really close fight, and it reminds me of the Merab fight pretty much exactly, because the Merab fight, you had rounds 2 and 4 where Ankalaev clearly won and Merab clearly won, and then the other rounds were like really close and competitive. So it gives off this kind of vibe that, oh, Ankalaev dominated, but he didn't really dominate. It was a very close fight. And it was boring in the championship rounds. It wasn't as boring as people say. Like, it wasn't an awful fight. It wasn't a good fight. It was a very mid fight. First few rounds were pretty solid. Again, championship rounds were very bad. Pereira, how did he look? I thought his takedown defense looked great. I was shocked that, because I was expecting Ankalaev to kind of struggle with taking him down in my breakdown. I thought he would get him down at least once, but he could not take him down. He could only hold him against the cage. Pereira, his grappling looked really good in this fight. And I thought that after stuffing the first few takedowns that Pereira, he would gain confidence and he would let his hands go because he's proven, okay, this guy is going to struggle taking me down, but he just would not let his hands go. He just was throwing that leg kick and that was pretty much it, which is very shocking. I thought that Pereira, again, would gain confidence late. I thought that was going to be super competitive, which I was right until the end. I thought Pereira would kind of knock him out in the end. And he did land the head kick, but he didn't knock him out. Magomed's pressure was amazing the entire fight. He showed good fight IQ, Magomed, I will say. He looked like the better striker without even a big takedown threat. He just looked so much faster, which we knew he was faster, but still, Magomed, his leg kicks, his front kick to the body, it looked almost better than Pereira's kicks, to be honest. And I know that Magomed, he's a southpaw. It's always going to be a little bit harder to land leg kicks on him, but Pereira was landing them. They weren't damaging. They didn't really affect Magomed, even though Joe Rogan, after the first round, he would not stop talking about, oh, that front kick, or not the front kick, oh, that leg kick, his calf is done. And every single time, Magomed was not affected at all. It was so funny. And he does this all the time. Joe Rogan is just an awful commentator. And overall, the commentary was awful during this fight. The first round, they didn't even talk about any of like the strikes being thrown. They just were kind of glazing Alex Pereira. It was really hard to listen to. And I think Daniel Cormier said something like, oh, I want to ask Khalil, why aren't these guys shooting on Alex? Which is a good question. But Khalil, Jamal Hill, Yuri, they're not grapplers. That's not their area. That's not where they're really talented at. Unlike Magomed Ankalaev, and even Magomed couldn't really take him down. So if he can't take him down, I highly doubt that Yuri or I don't know, he took him down a little bit, but still, or Khalil or Hill, guys that have really never shot takedowns would be able to take down Alex. I just think the answer is kind of obvious, but yeah, and I know Alex Pereira, he wasn't happy with the decision. He said something like, oh, Magomed shouldn't win by holding me, but Pereira, this is on you. You have to not get held up against the cage. And a lot of the fight was on the feet and striking exchanges, and he refused to let his hands go. At the end of the day, this loss is on him. Pereira, you shit the bed. This is on you. So that was very upsetting, honestly, to hear. Very upsetting performance from Pereira. Really, he did not look good at all. Like, his grappling looked good. His striking looked not... It didn't look elite, his striking. And I get Magomed is a really good striker, but still, Pereira, he may have not been training as hard. He was like touring the world or whatever. Magomed definitely took the fight more seriously. I don't know if that would have as much of a difference if Magomed loses in that case. I don't think so. I think he still wins. It is kind of upsetting though, because I feel like, I know people have spoken about this, how the UFC, every time there's a star, right, they give him the benefit of the doubt. They give Jones the Reyes fight. They give O'Malley the Yan fight. And Reyes and Yan are entertaining fighters, but they can't give Pereira this fight. I think that the right guy won, but still, it is kind of upsetting. I was really hoping that they would give it to Pereira, because you can give the fight to Pereira. It is a very close fight. And I do think that Pereira could do better in a rematch. Maybe he's more confident with his hands, because he knows that he could stuff the takedowns. But in that case, Magomed's pressure is still going to be a problem. And that means that Pereira has to sit in the pocket with Magomed, and Magomed is so much faster, and Magomed proved that he could hurt Pereira, where Pereira didn't really hurt him at any point. And even if there's no grappling, I still think that Magomed is just so much faster and such a good striker that I honestly, even if Magomed didn't shoot once in the rematch, I still would probably lean towards him, even though I think Pereira could have won this fight. Again, Pereira's age isn't great. I don't think he's going to get much better. He's like 37, 38. But yeah, and I just think that even if he's more confident in his grappling, I don't think that it would matter that much, because if he pressures Magomed, he's still going to have to stand in the pocket, which I think Magomed is better in. So I don't think it's as easy as, oh, he's going to be more confident, he's going to take it serious. I don't think it's that easy. In the rematch, I would lean Magomed, honestly. Pereira did not look good. And it sucks now, because I know some people are saying, oh, you should do Magomed versus Yuri. I know Magomed was talking trash to Yuri. And people are saying, oh, Yuri, he's going to be the guy to beat Magomed. I don't see anyone in light heavyweight beating Magomed. I even think that Magomed at heavyweight, I think he would beat John Jones right now. But yeah, he's a really good fighter. I know a lot of people don't like him, which I get, but I think he does well still. He still probably beats Pereira in the rematch, and he probably beats Yuri, he beats Hill, all these other guys. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the main event. Co-main event, Gaethje, Fiziev. Overall, it was a pretty good card. I went 7 for 10 on my picks, and I almost swept the card until the last 3 fights. Co-main event was good. I thought Fiziev could have won it. I thought Gaethje did just enough. It sucks because Fiziev, honestly, his cardio just looked like shit, and his cardio has always been not great. His cardio didn't look good. He didn't look as fast. And it probably is because he took it on short notice. I think if he had a full camp, he probably would have won. But still, it was a good fight. Kind of similar to the first fight. Fiziev just isn't great at making in-fight adjustments, in my opinion. He kept on getting hit with the uppercut. The first fight, it was the jab. But still, he took it on short notice. He did good. But this is 3 losses in a row for him, technically, which is not a great look. But still, I think the featured fight, Jalen Turner retired. I thought that Turner would stuff the takedown, which he did, but I didn't think that Ignacio would fall on bottom and then he would be able to submit Jalen Turner off of his back. I thought it would be more on the feet, but regardless, good submission. Ignacio, give him a top 10 fighter. Really good performance. Lemos, horrible fight. And then the opener, Bobby Green, one of the craziest knockouts of all time. I feel for Green, Ruffy, give him again another top 10 guy. Lightweight is very exciting. Prelims were good. Van looked great. Diaz, I picked Diaz as an underdog. That was a great fight. I thought he won. I thought Santos lost the fight against Marshall. Both of those were close fights. And then I'm trying to think what else. Leal looked great. First round knockout. And I picked Bruno Ferreira to finish Arman in the second round. So I got that right. Also a pretty good fight. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the card. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you scored the main event. 49-46 Magomed, 48-47 Magomed, or 48-47 Pereira. Who wins in the rematch? But yeah, that is it for me. And yeah,